Hello guys and welcome to another fun little project video. Back a while ago I did this €127 budget laptop build, and ever since then I had no idea how I could outdo this, but I think I found a way. A while back somebody I knew gave me this laptop because she was moving out and she said she was gonna throw that away. So I got this for an absolute bargain of €0 plus power supply. Now I didn't think of much of it. It was just for me the crappy Acer laptop from back in the day, and this sure is nothing special. But it caught my eye a little bit because this is a very common laptop. This has been sold in many different configurations, and these are usually beat to hell. They have been used and abused. They are in absolute terrible shape and broken, and keys are missing and everything. But this, look at it. It is in pristine condition. This could be almost brand new if it weren't for like some tiny scuffs on the back. But that's everything this has wrong with it. And of course, it works just 100% perfectly and got the power supply with it. Awesome. And you might say, yeah, that's cool and everything, but yeah, this is nothing anybody could use nowadays. This was built in around 2008-ish, and so it's just freaking old. It has nothing that a modern laptop has. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of high-end specifications, but it has something that modern laptops do not have. It has everything upgradable, and I mean everything. CPU, RAM, hard drive, even GPU. And that's what we gotta do. If it's smart or not, I don't know, but we will find out. When this came to me, it had no hard drive, so what I did is I put in a old hard drive I had laying around. I think it's a 54 RPM, 500 gig something. It was quite an upgrade from its original 160. That's for sure. And I put Windows 10 on this device. Yeah, that's surprising to me that it first of all still worked. That's good. But no way in hell is this usable. Just no. So what did we get back in the day for specifications in our Acer Aspire 5720CG? That's the exact model number of this. We got here a Pentium T2330, 1.6 gigahertz. Yeah, and not really a powerhouse by today's standards. This wasn't even powerful back in the day. This was just the entry option probably. And it is even a dual core, but yeah, it's a pretty bad dual core, I can tell you that. What did we else have? We have 2 gigabytes of DDR2 266 megahertz RAM. That's not a whole lot, and it's really slow. And for graphics, we got here a dedicated GPU, even a GeForce 8400M GS with 256 Max, which I think was back then pretty okay and pretty fast. I don't know who spec'd this system, like they took a Pentium but then took the graphics, or I don't know, but it's weird. But what this has is the socket P478. That is a cool socket because you can get a ton of different CPUs for this socket. And so what I did is I ordered to throw out this Pentium, a Core 2 Duo T7500. And I know you could even put in here a T9600, as far as I know, but our goal was to go absolute budget, super cheap. Again, if that's reasonable, I don't know, but I can tell you the T7500, well, it's maybe not the best chip out there. It's still probably gonna beat the crap out of this old Pentium. And also, I've used a MacBook Pro with a T7500 until like a year ago, and it performed okay. So I have faith in this chip, I really have. And that cost me a whopping €6.36. Of course, I went and ordered everything from AliExpress, so we still have to wait quite a bit until it arrives, but still, that was the price. Then we'll do a pretty simple upgrade on the memory, the RAM. Then we will replace our two 1GB 266 MHz RAM sticks with 4GB of 800 MHz RAM, which are two 2GB modules, and that cost me €10.67. So not a lot at all, but still we have double the RAM and way more speed. Next up, we have to, of course, remove this hard drive and make it solid state. So I went ahead and ordered the cheapest 120GB SSD I could find on AliExpress at the time, which cost me €20.36. And it's called the LV cards. I'm really curious for this SSD. I would certainly not put it into my primary daily system, but nevertheless, I'm gonna be curious how it performs. And last but not least, and that's probably the most exciting upgrades beside the CPU, we will throw out the old graphics card and put in the 9600M GT 512 Mag. That cost me €25.85, which was, it's funny, the most expensive upgrade. So yeah. And it, according to a lot of forums I read, it's the best GPU we can put into one of these computers. So I'm really curious to see how it performs. Yes, it's still an old graphics card, but still, quite a lot generations newer. So in total, I spent €63.24 on upgrades. Oh my god, that is not a whole lot. And you might say, yeah, you can't really calculate it like this because you didn't pay for the laptop. Obviously, if somebody really wants to do this project, they need to get this laptop, and I would never pay more than €20 for this old thing. I mean, this is, after all, as nice as it is in condition wise, it's a really outdated system, and if anybody wants more than $20 for this, I would say nah. So guys, a couple of days have passed and I have the SSD. Yes, I did not expect this to arrive just yet, actually, because in the tracking app it told me it was still in Shanghai or something, but that must have been wrong apparently. So here it is, the LV cards SSD with this little crown on the S. That can only mean good things, right? And yeah, 120 gigs. And this was, at the time when I bought it, the cheapest 120 gig SSD I could find on AliExpress. So yeah, let's see how it behaves. But first, I will have to clone the operating system I have on here onto the SSD, and for that we will use, just like in the other video too, easy use to do backup free. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it does exactly what it needs to do and easily, so I don't know what's the matter. Yeah, sure, it's quite a massive downgrade in terms of capacity, but in terms of speed, oh boy, we'll definitely kick it in the ass. So yeah, let's start our copying process, which yeah, it's probably gonna take a little while, but yeah, we'll have to deal with that. So we have the SSD installed, and now let's see if it boots. Should also have improved the battery life now, because SSD No spinning motor, nothing. Might as well do a BIOS update on this, just to be sure when we swap in the Core 2 Duo. Now with the SSD I have hopefully more patience to deal with this machine than with the hard drive, so I'm very glad the SSD came first. Yeah, that was already quicker than before, and note that it's now probably doing some after cloning stuff. I don't know what it really does, but yeah, well, it's taking longer than with the hard drive now, so I suppose it's because of the cloning situation and whatnot. Okay, so it looks to me we are booted. Everything seems to be in order. No blue screen. It's a little more responsive for sure, because previously I would, until the window opens, sit here for at least 15 seconds or so. So it's an SSD, 120 gigabytes. That's a serial number with a lot of zeros. And it's the SSD. Yeah, so not even crystal disk mark and no the real brand. So yeah, usually it should say here the brand and whatnot, the model, but here it just SSD 120 gigabytes, you know? That really screams quality and reliability right there. But that really all doesn't matter right now, because all we're here for is speed. So the test is done, and how did our China SSD do? Well, look for yourself. Here are the results, and yes, they look pretty darn nice. We almost tripled the read speed to 274 megabytes, and the write speed was not quite double, but around 50 megabytes better, which is, you know, quite a bit better. But what surprised me the most is the random write, which was before a crappy 1.1 megabytes, and now here we are at 29. Like, it could literally say it made it almost 30 times better. So yes, the China SSD definitely helped quite a lot. Now we wait for the other packages to arrive, which will hopefully not take too long anymore. Then we can make this part for part better. Alright guys, it's been a very long time since I started this build, and now I finally have all the parts. And I even have to correct something. I bought this RAM here after local classifieds, which is the same 2GB and 2GB module with 800 megahertz for $10. So even cheaper, so that means AliExpress is not always the answer. Because the RAM is still not here. It's probably gonna arrive. It's just slowed down by the coronavirus, the whole mail delivery system probably. But so I decided I'd go on the local classifieds and buy this. So I even got it cheaper. So also my CPU arrived, which is the T7500, and the graphics card, which they even wrote on here, Acer, a 9600 MGT. So I was looking so much forward to finally upgrade this system from that slow-ass Pentium to the Core 2 Duo, but also getting a little better graphics performance with the new graphics card. I decided to test it after every upgrade step, just to ensure that it works, because if we throw everything in there and something doesn't work, we have to figure it out, and if we go step by step, we can know that at least something worked. So let's plug it in and power it on, see if it still boots. It's looking good to me. And yes, first upgrade worked. 4 gigabytes of RAM. All good. Alright, that's nice to see. Let's move on to the CPU, which should definitely be a nice upgrade to this system. And I know it's gonna come up. Why did you bother with the 7500? Why did you not get like a 9600 or something? Well, I wanted to be, first of all, super budget, but also the coronavirus seemed to have driven up the CPU prices at the time I ordered all of this. So it was actually somewhat expensive, which yeah, was just a bad time to actually start this project. But hey, now we have it, and I waited so long, we might as well put it in there. And hey, it's a big upgrade from the Pentium anyway, so I would say it's still pretty decent. Now, two funny things, guys. First, I wanted to screw off this, but that is in fact a graphics card, so we have to do that later. But also, look at all of this crap that's been blocking the exhaust fan. I mean, no wonder this thing was spinning all the time. I mean, I'm used to that by lots of computers since they just do it and they have loud fans. But maybe in this case we can quiet this down by quite a bit when the fan finally gets some air. Man, that's disgusting. Look at that. Wow. We have two separate radiators. One goes for the graphics card further back, and one goes for the CPU here, and the fan blows through both. So, like, that's pretty neat. And even this chip is covered here, so they really made sure that this thing is cooled properly, which I find to be pretty good. And all on top of that, they have only one fan. Yeah, as always, this thing is just absolutely crusty. And you know what I'll do, guys? I'll just send it. I'll put in the graphics card too, because of the design here, that the radiator for the graphics card is further back, and if I wanted to do it one at a time, I would have to put this off again, and I don't want to do that. So I'll just put in both and hope that everything goes right. So, well, there goes the plan of doing it step by step. I'll just go YOLO. Let's screw in the CPU, or the old one, out first. Here's our Pentium. That's maybe worth, I don't know, 50 cents. Probably not even. Anyway, here is our new one. Paid $6 for it, can't remember. Here is the new one. Nice T7500 Core 2 Duo chip. And now let's install it. Just gonna see where the corner is. Oh, it's there. Alright. So that we don't mess up the pins. Because this is still one of the Intel chips who have pins. They must have really quickly, after these, moved to the pinless design. I don't know, maybe you know that when Intel moved to the pins in the motherboard design. Because this still has it. Okay. Chip is installed. Very good. Yeah, a little dusty. That one, yeah. That one has this little thermal pad here, which I think can be reused. Still looking good. Let's go to the more interesting part. GPU. Bring me back when we had so awesome and modular laptops like as mainstream. I know they still exist. And Acer still makes some of them. So yeah, props to Acer. I recently saw one. Can't remember. It had a complicated name, but definitely not the mainstream anymore. I just hope that I don't they don't have different screws for CPU. Yes, of course they have. Oh gosh. It's coming. Wow, look at that long heat pipe. And once again, thermal paste is just dried up. That one is not in so clogged up shape, but it's a little bit. And here is our old graphics card, which can still be useful in a different laptop maybe one day. I don't think I can sell that thing, but I'm trying. And if not, I'll, have another spare. And oh my god, I think you have to give this a nicer clean, an actual proper one. Not the way I do it, always just wipe it off. And they even have this, like, what is that? What the hell is that? Like some foil wrapped around the graphics card. Very much like an iMac graphics card. I'm just realizing that it came right off with the graphics card. That's really weird. Here it is. It's the old one. And let's unwrap our new one, or the newer one. Still a kind of an old GPU. And that one doesn't have these wraparound foil things. So to make it proper, I think we have to reuse them. Okay, got it all nice and clean. As you can see, looks shiny and new. And boy, this fan was so dirty, like it's not even funny anymore. I kept sticking in there some Q-tips and they were all coming up black, and like I could still, if I had the motivation to do that, bring out some more crap. But hey, that improved like, wow, so much. Don't believe that. Also hit it with some compressed air, so should be fine. Let's reinstall the graphics heat pipe and radiator and cooler. So I use here this cheap HC151. I'll tell that because somebody wanted to know. I have some Arctic MX2, but I'll save that for more valuable stuff. Guys, I'm kind of stuck here. Ah, yeah, there we go. You did the little push. Alright. And now let's tighten those up in order that Acer told us. So our next step is the CPU cooler. Let's put the thermal paste onto the CPU cooler die, which is super shiny, but not for very long anymore. Now that, I'd say, is just on the edge of too little thermal paste. But just put now it's messed up. Alright, now it's too much. I agree. Anyway, it's fine. Now I'm really curious about the temperatures, because I'm kind of familiar with T7500s. I have a MacBook right now with a T7500, and I had a MacBook Pro, and both of them ran pretty damn hot. Changing the thermal paste did change the thermals to the better a little bit, but they still ran hot. Now I don't know if that's because of their Mac and they run hot. They're known to run hot, but we'll see. This one also has a little beefier cooling setup than the Mac had, so should be maybe a little better. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Now that is what I call a serviceable design. No complete disassembly required to get to the processor, nothing, just one plate removed and there it is. Awesome stuff. Okay, let's put on our CPU cooler, a really crucial piece of hardware that cools everything. Bolts right in. So I'm ready for the big moment. Are you? 3, 2, 1. Well, that's good. Hopefully. And yeah, looking beautiful. Now Windows is, yeah, probably gonna freak out about the graphics card. Because we changed it and it has the driver installed for the older one. Oh, what was that? Holy shit, that didn't look too good. Let's go into BIOS first. F2. Ah, damn it. Thought it was escape. Ah! Well, that doesn't look to me that it has a graphics driver installed, but it certainly looks that the graphics card is working. I was a little worried for a second there with all the flickering mess, but since it didn't display any weird stuff in the boot up process, and right now it's fine, it's just missing the driver. I think we're good here, but before we install that driver, which you certainly don't want to watch me doing, I will reboot it and go into the BIOS and check out if it recognizes it correctly, if everything is good. Also, did I say that it did a BIOS update? I think I did. And here is our Core 2 Duo T7500, yes. SSD is here. Nvidia VGI BIOS, yeah, awesome stuff, but there is nowhere the graphics card to be seen on this page. Let's put that panel back on because we don't need to mess around inside of it anymore. And then I will install the driver, and then we'll go and do some benchmarks and see how much it improved. Hopefully, quite a bit. Oh my god, I got it finally running. Well, what's the big deal, you might ask? Just install a graphics driver. Well, wrong. Even though Nvidia says they have this model supported on Windows 10, they even write it on their website, it doesn't work with their file. You have to manually modify a .inf file with your own hardware ID, then deactivate driver signature because you modified it, and then it's gonna install. And that was a super short version. I will link you an excellent video on how to do that below. I just find it super annoying that a company like Nvidia basically is too lazy to write that into their code. A couple of lines added and it would have worked. But hey, they didn't, which is a shame. Anyway, maybe you'll find a driver version where it is included. I don't know, but I did not. I tried 3 different drivers and none of them worked. All of them were just saying there is no graphics hardware installed, no appropriate hardware installed, which is bullshit because there is. Anyway, now I got it working. It doesn't display the size, which is not a big deal to me, but I got it installed. It's running the Nvidia driver, and so all good. So while we're in there, just close it again, why don't we look at our final upgrades here that we successfully did to this Acer Core 2 Duo T7500 Merom processor, and just like I expected, it is a little bit of the toasty side. 73 degrees on idle. Oh boy, that's how I know it. Anyway, still dual core, 2 threads, really nice CPU. Now we got 2 times 2 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. For example, here it's only recognizing 300 megahertz, which is weird because on the RAM slots it says 800. And finally here, the GeForce 9600M, which I'm really curious how it performs. Well, hello there. You can see me and my camera in the webcam, and I'm happy to report that it did not mess up the graphics driver after the update, which is very good to see. So we are now ready to do our first benchmark, and I will show you first here Cinebench R15, which it previously scored in 3 frames per second with the old GPU. So let's see what our upgrade brought us, if it brought us more FPS. Well, those are for sure more than 3 per second. I'd say around 10. Let's see if I'm right. 10 plus minus 2, something like that. .24, wow. That was a good guess by me. definitely an improvement. Before 3 frames per second, now 10.2. Very, very good. Alright, now that we got the graphics benchmark out of the way, let's do the R15 CPU and after that the R20 and see how much the Core 2 Duo improved things. Now first Cinebench is done and it is not only 2 times, not only 3 times, actually it's a little more than 3 times faster. Before we had a crappy score of 33 and now 105. Yes, that's what we want to see. Definitely worth it. That is even a better speed increase from the ratio at least than on my other budget PC laptop build. So awesome stuff. Awesome. Alright. Now that we did the 15, let's do the more recent one, the 20. I think that's still gonna take a little while, even though we upgraded the CPU, since after all, the T7500 is still an old chip. So the modern Cinebench will definitely take its time, but I hope we also see some nice increase here. Also, something that surprised me quite a bit is that the temperatures were steady around 82, 83 in the previous Cinebench, so pretty okay. Now we have here 77, it's ramping up a little bit, but actually I thought it was rather cool for, you know, being at 100% and that over an extended amount of time. Because as I said, the MacBooks, they ran always pretty hot like fire, always 90 degrees, 95, 98. So that this didn't even go over 90 kind of surprised me, really. I'm curious if it's still the same here in the R20, but maybe I didn't do such a crappy job after all with the thermal paste. Definitely helped, and maybe the cooling system in this laptop is just more efficient than in a MacBook. Could be. But temperatures are climbing. 79 right now. But still pretty good, I'd say. Benchmark has gone a little further, and as you see, it sits around 80 degrees. Really nice to see. Really didn't expect that. I thought this is gonna melt the whole computer when I do these benchmarks, but as it looks like, this Acer has a pretty nice cooling system. So that one fan really does its job, and I can feel it's pushing out quite a lot of hot air. So, I mean, it's not silent by any means, but hey, it's running at 100% capacity, so it is allowed to make some noise if it cools the CPU. Well guys, what can I say? I am very, very pleased how this turned out. And with our upgrades, we made this usable again. Now I wanted to actually use it for some of my stuff. And I first thought about using Windows, but I was like, yeah, it's probably gonna perform average on Windows. So why not try out something different? So I didn't use Windows for my testing. I decided to use Ubuntu, and not just any Ubuntu, the very latest 2004 LTS, the just released hot new Ubuntu, and I decided to throw it on there and just see how it really works on this lower end system. And I tell you guys, it performs really, really nice. Much better than Windows, absolutely much better. The SSD helps big time, but also the Core 2 Duo and the upgraded RAM. And they even say they recommend 4 GB of RAM. So these are kind of the minimum requirements. And I was a little worried that it might not perform all that well. But honestly, I just I couldn't really say that I had any problems anywhere. So I used it, as you see, for some Skype calls. I just signed out again, actually. Now, in fact, yesterday, David and me, we watched Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. We did some Halloween binge watching during the quarantine, and I only used this machine, so I had him here on Skype, and also I had the movie running on this system in VLC, and that worked out pretty well. And I in fact have it right here. And as you see, that's smooth playback, no stutter, nothing. Very, very good. And I think the graphics card also helps in this case. So obviously I don't want to show you too much because of copyright and whatnot, but yeah, that went totally fine without any issues. No stutter, no lag. Really, really nice to see. Now the next question was, can it do YouTube rather decently? And so I installed another browser, Chromium, and I did some YouTube browsing. Now, admittedly, for my taste, it's just a tiny bit too slow, but that of course doesn't mean that it's unusable at all. It's actually quite the opposite. And as you see, the whole hardware works. I didn't have to install a single driver at all by myself. Now that here is a video in 720p, and as you see, 720p streaming, absolutely no problem at all. Now you could even go to 1080p, and it will skip here and there, but as you see, it's like basically not noticeable at all. Now it's smoothed out completely. But why would you do that? That's a 720p screen anyway, so it doesn't make sense to stream 1080p. But hey, even that can be done. But yeah, that brings it to its limits a bit. As you can see, CPU is pretty maxed out, and I dropped down to 60%. But yeah, the overall system performance is just really, really nice. Really fast, responsive, no lag, no annoying loading times, nothing. As you can see, I'm just booting up here LibreOffice. I did some typing. I needed to type something yesterday, and I used that laptop, and the keyboard in it is also pretty sweet. So that was a nice surprise as well, because I haven't really used it all that much. The only thing that kind of falls short on it is the trackpad. That has just not aged well at all, because with all these modern trackpads we got nowadays, this is, yeah, I mean, while it works, it does its job, I much rather have a mouse. It's just way easier for me. But hey, the rest of the computer, no issue whatsoever. And despite this being so old, and that, you know, it eventually has been given to me for free, just shows, you know, what potential these things hide when you just upgrade it a little bit. I just want to show you that as well. In here, in the Ubuntu settings, it's running the latest 2004 LTS, so not even Ubuntu or some more lightweight like Ubuntu. I really went out for the normal full fat Ubuntu, and I don't see a reason to use a more faster distro on this, or less bloated distro. Now I did run into one little issue, because I checked the Nvidia graphics driver, the proprietary driver, and when I used that, it would show me black screens here and there. It would be unreliable, so I switched it back to the Xorg driver, and the Xorg driver is fine, so you don't need the Nvidia driver. So much less hassle getting that graphics card to work on Ubuntu than on Windows. As I said, on Windows that was quite a chore. But hey, on Ubuntu everything's working, Wi-Fi is working. We don't have Bluetooth on this system yet, so fortunately no Bluetooth. But we got graphics acceleration, we got webcam working, all the ports working. It just a really nice system. The volume slider works here, that little wheel, really nice little touch there. They also had that on Toshiba's. And hey, what can I say? I'm really positively surprised, and I have just now decided that I'm not gonna sell it. I just don't want to, because it feels to me like something of a time capsule. This is the nicest Acer Aspire 5720 series that I've ever seen. Everything's working, it's in really nice shape, and apart from that, we just upgraded it with all these parts, so I might as well just keep it around in my collection, and it'll be a really nice mint condition collectible, hopefully in like 20 years time. Or not, I don't know, probably not, because there's just so many of these around. But hey, I just find it cool, and it's got pretty decent speakers as well. That surprised me quite a bit. But hey, must be something going for these Dolby Digital stuff. Now it doesn't really appear on camera all that well. On camera the screen looks kind of crap, but I tell ya, in person it's just really nice actually. No, it isn't very bright, but I think it's got nice colors, and it's got a sharp, crisp image. I've seen way worse on lots of laptops, so I don't know. They use a nicer panel. So what can I say? I'm just so surprised, positively surprised from this laptop, how this turned out. With minimal budget, you can just achieve so much, and you don't even have to like sacrifice on anything. This will do your Netflix watching, your Skype conversations, your Facebook browsing, Word document stuff. Obviously, if you want to do some video editing, it's gonna be slow, but hey, that's on any Core 2 Duo nowadays. If you want to edit 4K and all that, forget it. But normal chores can be easily done on this, and if you're into that, you can also play some retro games like Windows XP era games with all the settings turn up max and all that. What do I know? So this guy, I had a blast with it. I saved it from the scrap, and I made it better than it ever has been before. So my mission is accomplished. I'll give it now maybe a nice clean before I throw it in the closet, because that guy will stay with me for now. But yeah, guys, hope you like it. Tell me what you think, and I will of course be back with another such a project when I find the ability to do that. But for now, that's it. So see you later, and thanks for watching.